What's good, Dub Nation? Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, your number one source for everything Golden State Warriors. I'm here bringing you the latest breaking news, exclusive trade analysis, insider updates, and all the rumors surrounding our beloved franchise as we push toward another championship run. This is where the real Warriors fans come to get the truth, the deep analysis, and the perspective that matters most to us who bleed blue and gold. The Chase Center has been electric this season. Our Warriors are playing with purpose, with intensity, and with that championship DNA that we've come to expect from this organization. But if you've been watching closely, if you've been paying attention to the details like I know you have, you've noticed something. There's a pattern emerging in our losses, a recurring theme in the games where we struggle, a weakness that opposing teams are exploiting night after night. And it's not about our offense, it's not about our three-point shooting, and it's definitely not about our perimeter defense. Let me take you inside what's really happening on the court. When the Warriors face elite Western Conference opponents, when we're going up against teams with dominant big men, when we're matched up against centers who can control the paint and dominate the glass, we've been getting exposed. I'm talking about those frustrating nights where we're watching opposing centers grab offensive rebounds at will, where we're seeing easy buckets in the paint, where our interior defense looks vulnerable and our rim protection feels non-existent. Draymond Green is still Draymond Green. He's still our defensive quarterback, still our emotional leader, still the heart and soul of this team. But let's be real with each other, Dub Nation. Draymond is 35 years old now. He's been carrying this defense for over a decade. He's played in more playoff games than most players will see in their entire careers. And asking him to be our primary rim protector and interior defender for another full season, plus a deep playoff run, is simply not sustainable. We need help. We need reinforcements. We need a legitimate center who can take some of that burden off Draymond's shoulders, the current center. Rotation has been a revolving door of experiments and temporary solutions. We've tried different lineups. We've adjusted schemes. We've asked our wings to help more in the paint. But none of it has been enough to solve the fundamental problem. When we face teams like Denver with Nikola Jokic, when we go up against the Lakers with Anthony Davis operating in the post, when we match up against any team with a dominant big man, we're at a serious disadvantage. The numbers don't lie, and the film doesn't lie. Our defense in the paint has been one of the worst in the league among championship contenders. Bob Myers built a dynasty here in the Bay Area. He made bold moves, he took calculated risks, and he wasn't afraid to shake things up when the situation demanded it. Now, with Mike Dunleavy Jr. running the front office, there's that same willingness to be aggressive, that same understanding that championship windows don't stay open forever, and that same commitment to putting the best possible roster around Steph Curry while he's still playing at an MVP level. And trust me, Dub Nation, the front office has been working the phones, exploring options, and looking for solutions to our biggest weakness. The trade market is always fascinating this time of year. Teams are evaluating their rosters, figuring out what they have, identifying their needs, and starting to have conversations about potential moves. Some teams are looking to add pieces for a championship push. Others are looking to retool for the future. And smart front offices are always looking for those multi-team deals that can create value for everyone involved. And when you can structure a trade that addresses major needs for multiple franchises, when you can create a scenario where everybody walks away feeling like they got better, that's when the really interesting deals start to materialize. There's been a lot of speculation about what the Warriors might do. Names have been floated, scenarios have been discussed, and every mock trade on the internet has the Warriors involved in some kind of blockbuster deal. But most of that is just noise, just content creators throwing ideas at the wall to see what sticks. What I'm bringing you today is different. This is based on serious reporting, on legitimate framework discussions, on the kind of trade structure that actually makes sense for all parties involved. We're talking about a 3-team trade scenario. Not a simple 2-team swap, but a complex deal involving the Warriors, another Western Conference contender, and a third team that's looking to add young talent. These kinds of trades are difficult to pull off because you need to align the interests of 3 different front offices, 3 different coaching staffs, and 3 different ownership groups. But when they work, when all the pieces fit together properly, they can be franchise-altering moves that reshape the competitive landscape of the entire conference. The Warriors' target in this potential deal is a center who checks every single box we've been looking for. We're talking about a big man who is elite at rim protection, who ranks in the top 2% of all NBA players in defensive efficiency at the rim, who can alter and block shots at a rate that would immediately transform our interior defense. But it's not just about defense. This player is also one of the most efficient offensive centers in the entire league, shooting over 70% from the field, which would make him the perfect pick-and-roll partner for Steph Curry and a lethal finisher on lobs and dump dash-off stop. Let me give you some context on why this particular player makes so much sense for the Warriors system. When you play in Golden State, when you're part of this Warriors offense, you don't need to be a post-up scorer who demands 20 touches per game. You don't need to be a guy who needs plays drawn up for him or who requires the ball in his hands to be effective. What you need to be is efficient. What you need to be is smart. What you need to be is someone who understands how to play within the flow of the offense and capitalize on the attention that Steph Curry commands. Center we're discussing averages 12.3 points per game on 70.2% shooting from the field. Think about that efficiency for a second. 7 out of every 10 shots he takes goes in the basket. That's not just good. That's historically elite. He also pulls down 6.8 rebounds per game, and his block percentage of 7.3% puts him among the league leaders in rim protection. At 27 years old, he's entering his prime. He's got 3 years left on his contract at $54 million total, which is incredibly reasonable value for a starting caliber center in today's NBA. The structure of this rumored trade involves the Dallas Mavericks and the Chicago Bulls alongside the Warriors. Now, before I reveal exactly who we're talking about and what the specific framework looks like, let me explain why this makes sense for all three teams, because that's what makes this deal realistic rather than just another fantasy trade scenario. The Warriors need a center who can protect the rim and finish efficiently. Dallas needs backcourt help and future flexibility as they build around their young core. Chicago needs athletic wing talent and wants to add pieces that fit their timeline. So here's how the framework reportedly works. Golden State would receive the center they desperately need, immediately upgrading their interior defense and giving them a legitimate rim-running threat on offense. Dallas would land Kobe White from Chicago, a 25-year-old guard who averaged 14 points per game last season and can provide scoring and playmaking off the bench or as a starter. The Mavericks would also receive draft compensation to help build for the future. And Chicago would get Jonathan Kuminga from the Warriors, a 22-year-old wing with tremendous athletic ability and scoring upside who fits perfectly into their rebuilding timeline. Now, Dub Nation, I know some of you just heard Jonathan Kuminga's name and immediately had a reaction. Kuminga has been with us since we drafted him. We've watched him develop. We've seen flashes of brilliance, and there's genuine affection for him in the Bay Area. But let's have an honest conversation about where this team is right now. Steph Curry is 37 years old. We don't have 5 years to wait for Kuminga to fully develop into the player we hope he can become. We need impact players right now. We need proven contributors who can help us win a championship while Steph is still at this level. Kuminga is averaging 12.1 points and 5 rebounds per game on 44.6% shooting. He's talented, he's athletic, he has potential, but he's also inconsistent. Some nights he looks like a future all-star. Other nights he disappears for long stretches. He's still on his rookie scale contract, which makes him valuable trade currency. And for a team like Chicago that's not competing for a championship this year, taking on a young player with upside makes perfect sense. For the Warriors, this is about maximizing our championship window while we still have it. The player the Warriors would be acquiring in this three-team structure is Daniel Gafford, the Dallas Maverick, 27-year-old center who has been one of the most efficient and impactful big men in the league over the past 2 seasons. Gafford is exactly what this Warriors team needs. He shot 72.5% from the field last season. He's an elite rim protector who ranked in the top 2% of all NBA players in defensive efficiency at the rim. And he's the perfect pick-and-roll partner for the kind of offense Steve Kerr wants to run. Imagine Steph Curry running a pick-and-roll with a center who can roll hard to the rim, catch lobs above the rim, and finish with authority. Imagine having a big man who can actually protect the paint when Draymond needs a rest or when we want to play Draymond at the 4. Imagine not getting killed on the glass every night by opposing centers. That's what Daniel Gafford brings to this team. He's not a superstar. He's not going to make All-NBA teams. But he's a perfect role player who does exactly what championship teams need from their starting center. Let's break down the statistical profile here because the numbers are remarkable. Gafford's 70.2% field goal percentage would be the highest on the Warriors roster by a significant margin. His block percentage of 7.3% would immediately make him our best rim protector. His 6.8 rebounds per game might not seem overwhelming, but in the Warriors system where we prioritize pace and transition, that's solid production. And at $54 million over 3 years, that's only $18 million per season for a starting center who addresses our biggest weakness. The fit with the Warriors is almost too perfect. Gafford doesn't need plays called for him. He doesn't need to post up. He doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective. He sets screens, he rolls hard, he finishes lobs, he protects the rim, and he runs the floor in transition. Those are exactly the skills that translate to winning basketball in Golden State's system. Put him alongside Steph, Clay, and Draymond, and suddenly you have a starting lineup that can compete defensively with anyone in the league, while still maintaining the offensive firepower that makes the Warriors dangerous. Now let's talk about what Dallas gets out of this deal. The Mavericks are building around Cooper Flagg, their rookie sensation who has been everything they hoped for and more. But they need more guard depth, they need playmaking off the bench, and they need to maintain future flexibility. Kobe White gives them a 25-year-old guard who can score, who can create for others, and who fits their timeline perfectly. The draft compensation they receive helps them continue building for the future. And while losing Gafford hurts, they have other options at center, and this trade helps them address bigger needs. Chicago's perspective is straightforward. They're not competing for a championship this year. They're evaluating their roster, and they need to add young talent with upside. Jonathan Kuminga is exactly that. He's 22 years old, he's athletic, he can score, and he has the potential to develop into a really good player. For a Bulls team that's trying to figure out their direction, adding a player like Kuminga on a rookie-scale contract is a low-risk, high-reward move that makes a lot of sense. So who wins this trade? From my perspective, the Warriors come out ahead. We address our biggest weakness. We get a player who fits perfectly into our system, and we do it without giving up any of our core pieces. Kuminga is talented, but he's not untouchable. And if trading him means we get a legitimate starting center who can help us win a championship, that's a move you make every single time. Dallas improves their guard rotation and adds future assets. Chicago gets a young player with upside. Everybody walks away with something valuable. The pros of this deal for Golden State are obvious. Immediate improvement in rim protection, rebounding, and interior defense. A high-efficiency offensive player who fits perfectly with Steph Curry. More lineup flexibility and the ability to play Draymond at the 4 more often. Better matchups against the elite big men in the Western Conference. The cons are that we give up draft picks and one of our younger assets. And there's always some risk that Gafford doesn't adjust perfectly to our system, though his skill set suggests he'll fit seamlessly. For Dallas, the pros are clear guard help, future draft assets, and maintain cap flexibility. The con is losing a center who's been effective for them. For Chicago, the pro is adding young talent that fits their timeline. The con is the chemistry adjustment that comes with any new player. Overall, this is the kind of trade structure that actually makes sense because all 3 teams get something they need. Let me be clear about something, Dub Nation. This isn't just speculation. This isn't just me throwing out ideas. This trade framework has been discussed. It's been analyzed by credible sources, and it represents the kind of move that the Warriors front office is actively exploring. Will it happen exactly as outlined? Maybe not. Trade negotiations are fluid. Details change. Other teams get involved. But the core concept of the Warriors pursuing Daniel Gafford in a multi-team deal is very real. And honestly, it's exactly the kind of aggressive move this franchise needs to make. We're not rebuilding. We're not tanking. We're not waiting for the future. We're trying to win championships right now while Steph Curry is still playing at an elite level. That means being willing to trade young assets for proven players, being willing to give up draft picks for immediate help, and being willing to make the tough decisions that championship organizations make. Think, about what this Warriors team could look like with Daniel Gafford in the starting lineup. Steph and Clay on the perimeter, Draymond running the defense, and Gafford protecting the rim and finishing lobs. That's a lineup that can compete with anyone in the Western Conference. That's a lineup that doesn't have a glaring weakness. That's a lineup that gives us a legitimate chance to compete for banner. Number 5. So here's my final analysis on this entire situation. The Warriors need a center. Daniel Gafford is an excellent fit. And this 3-team trade structure makes sense for everyone involved. If Mike Dunleavy Jr. can pull this off, if he can land Gafford without giving up any of our core pieces, it would be a massive win for this franchise. It would address our biggest weakness. It would make us legitimate championship contenders. And it would maximize Steph Curry's remaining prime years. Now I want to hear from you, Dub Nation. What do you think about this potential trade? Are you willing to give up Jonathan Kuminga to land Daniel Gafford? Do you think Gafford is the right fit for this Warrior system? And how much would adding a legitimate rim-protecting center change your expectations for this team's championship chances? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I genuinely want to know what the Warriors faithful think about this potential blockbuster move. If you found this analysis valuable, if you appreciate the detailed breakdown and the honest assessment of what this trade would mean for our franchise, do me a huge favor and smash that like button. It helps the algorithm push this content to more Warriors fans. It helps the channel grow. And it tells me you want more of this kind of in-depth analysis. And if you're not already subscribed to Warriors News Fan Report, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a breaking news update, trade analysis, or game breakdown. We're covering everything Warriors, from roster moves to game strategy, from injury updates to championship prediction. This is your home for serious Warriors coverage, and I want you to be part of this community. Share this video with your fellow Warriors fans who need to know about this potential Daniel Gafford trade. Let's get the conversation going, let's debate the pros and cons, and let's show the front office that Dub Nation is paying attention and has opinions about how this roster should be constructed. I'll be back soon with more updates, more analysis, and more of everything that makes being a Warriors fan so special. Until then, keep believing in this team, keep supporting the dynasty, and keep coming back to Warriors News Fan Report for all your Golden State coverage. Strength in numbers, Dub Nation.